Hello, and thank you so much for joining our 30-minute Safety Management Suite Incident Center demonstration. Today at a high level, we'll explore the features within the J.J. Keller Incident Center and discuss some regulatory requirements. Before we get started, I just want to cover a few housekeeping items. At the bottom of your screen are multiple engagement tools, which are resizable and movable. If you have any questions, please submit them through the Q&A box. Feel free to submit them at any time. A live Q&A session will follow the event. For the best viewing experience, we encourage using a high-speed and stable internet connection and closing out any unnecessary browser tabs. If you experience audio issues or your media player is not populating, refresh your browser by clicking F5. All right, let's meet our presenters. Derek Plowden and Jason Hartwig will be presenting for us today. Derek is a member of the J.J. Keller EHS publishing team, contributing to a variety of workplace and environmental safety-related products and services. He specializes in the subjects of injury and illness record keeping, construction regulations, ergonomics, walking working surfaces, and personal protective equipment. Derek will be covering the regulatory requirements for injury and illness record keeping. And Jason is a product manager for J.J. Keller's Technology Solutions. He's responsible for prioritizing roadmap items within the Safety Management Suite and working through the implementation process to deploy features and functions to users. Jason is going to walk us through the J.J. Keller Incident Center and grid reporting. So welcome, Derek and Jason. And with that, I'll send it over to Derek to get us started today.
Awesome. And thank you, Anya and Jason, for having me along today. I'm just going to take a couple minutes here because, of course, the main star of the show today is Jason and our Incident Center. Again, I want to thank you all for coming. As Anya had stated, I'm an editor on the environmental health and safety side here at J.J. Keller. Part of my job involves taking a deep dive into OSHA's Part 1904 record-keeping requirement to help employers and other safety professionals like yourselves understand how and when to record injuries and illnesses on your OSHA 300 logs, and how to even properly calculate incident rates as well, because of course that's an important part of every safety program. Now, we're 2 days away from the close of OSHA's fiscal year, which means that it's basically time to get those injury and illness record-keeping summaries ready. Each year, you must fill out a summary of your annual OSHA 300 logs and submit them to the agency. Now, around this time is when I answer the most record-keeping questions. So, as most of you well know, the basic requirements that apply all year long to establishments that are covered by the routine record-keeping requirements include making sure to correctly enter all of your recordable injuries and illnesses on your log throughout the year. That is, you need to record all injuries and illnesses that are new, they're work-related, and they meet all the record-keeping criteria at 1904.7. Now, for every recordable case, you must also complete a 301 incident report for each case on that log. And these are basic requirements, right? I haven't given any specifics just due to time, but of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and ask. I may get to them as time allows at the end. If not, please feel free to send your questions in anyway, and I'll respond to them throughout the workday. Now, every year on top of record-keeping questions that I get, safety professionals also often ask the same question. Well, why is calculating incident rates so important? Why is the record-keeping requirement so important in itself, right? And the short of it is, it helps OSHA track down where inspections might need to take place the most. Of course, the higher your incident rates, the more likely a workplace gets a knock on the door from OSHA. Now, while most don't like hearing from the agency, they will visit facilities with higher incident rates to understand why injuries and illnesses occur in the workplace throughout the year. But responsibility, of course, doesn't fall on them to figure that out. You also have a responsibility each year to evaluate where your company needs to improve, where your programs need to improve. Essentially, incident rates are a great way to evaluate your company's safety program at the end of each year, given though they are considered lagging indicators, right? So you can always look for leading indicators after reviewing your incident rates. It's one thing that I recommend doing, not using incident rates as a leading indicator. But basically, use those leading indicators to understand how to improve safety and prevent injuries and illnesses from happening in your workplace, right? So while visits from OSHA aren't always fun, they're a good opportunity to learn how to improve safety at any given workplace. So those are the basic requirements, and I hope this gives you a good understanding of why it's important to make sure your 300 logs and your incident rates are as accurate as possible for OSHA. But before I continue on a longer tangent and take over the show, I'll pass things off to Jason Hartwig to talk about our Incident Center and how it plays a key role in your safety programs. Thanks for joining, everyone. I appreciate it.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Derek. I will now share my screen, and we'll walk through some of the elements in Safety Management Suite that make it valuable from an OSHA record-keeping perspective. So the first thing I want to call attention to is I will probably allude to some items that I will explore and some items that maybe I encourage you to explore on your own because of our time here. So the first thing that is kind of foundational to the site before you maybe go log incidents, or maybe you want to start at a point in time doing something different in regards to incidents. There's a process built it's specific to case numbering, and so I'll show you this, and then we'll go into the case numbering settings. But when you add an incident, each incident is assigned a case number, and you have options in regards to how those case numbers are defined and generated. So we'll jump into the case numbering settings, which is found by going up to the profile settings and then profile menu, and then selecting settings. And from there, I can navigate to incident case numbering. So we have a couple different options that are available to everybody. You can choose manual numbering, where you assign numbers automatically manually to each incident that's logged. You can choose sequential auto numbering, or you can choose current year plus sequential auto numbering. One item I want to call out about these selections above here is that it may result in case numbers being duplicated across locations. So location 1 might have an incident case number of 0001, and location 2 might also have that same case number assigned. Now, a way to get around that is you can also use our location identifier numbering options. So what it will do is if you assign a specific location identifier per location, that will force your incident case numbers to be unique. So here it's pretty easy. You can select one or the other. If you don't have any location identifiers set up, it won't let you select it, and then you can navigate to a page where you can change your your location identifiers accordingly. So I'm going to leave that as is, and I'm going to leave my case numbering as is, but I think it's important to understand how that's generated. So from here, first step in the process, as Derek mentioned, is getting all of the details into the system, and then we'll explore afterwards a couple options or several options to get your data out of the system. So here, again, my case number will be defined. I'm adding an incident to the system. Case number will be generated upon save. I do want to call attention under a bunch of the fields. You will see these items here. Applies the Form 300, applies the Form 301, and you will see those turn green as I enter data onto the form itself. So I'm going to enter an incident, and we're going to say it's in progress right now, and I'm going to choose the type of incident of recordable. Another feature that I think that's valuable, and I would encourage you to explore a little bit, is the Is It Recordable wizard. So within an incident, you can go through a process and a step of logical questions and responses to decide whether or not an incident is recordable. And I know we get a lot of questions, our editorial group gets a lot of questions consistently around an incident and whether or not it's recordable. So if you just walk this process, yes, they are not a contract worker. We'll say that the injury is work-related. Is it a new case? Yes. Did they have a needle stick injury? We'll say no. Were they medically removed? No. Did it result in death, days away from work? And we're going to say yes for days away from work. And this will tell you that it should appear on your OSHA injury forms. That feature is also available from the grid page. So We're going to walk through creating an incident. I'm going to select my employee. Your employees list is defined in your company data left-hand nav feature here. So, that's a common theme throughout creating an incident. There are a variety of items that you will select that are available in company data to be defined by you, the user, to make sure that things are entered consistently. You can also enter a non-employee name that might have been involved in the incident. One nice thing about Safety Management Suite is that you can update the job title on the date of incident. It no longer pulls. It doesn't pull the employee's job title. So what that means is if the job title of the employee changes tomorrow, it still is a timestamp. It's stamped based on their job title and the date of the incident. So, and notice it defaults to the job title defined at the employee level, but I can change it if I choose to. And again, as I'm entering this, just as a note, it's saying this data input here applies to Form 300. I'm going to select a location name. So here I'm going to select my Appleton location as an example. And then date of incident. So I'm going to enter a date of the incident. I'm going to enter it yesterday and say I'm getting caught up on getting this created in the system. Time of incident, I'm going to say time cannot be determined. And you'll notice again applies to Form 301. Where did the incident occur? So this is one of those items where it is user defined. So I can either enter a new one on the fly within my form, or I can go to company data where events occurred and enter a new entry. For this case, in this case, I'm just going to select office. I can select the work area as well, and I'll show you some examples of where and why this data could be valuable. Even if, work area, for example, is not an item that is reported on the 300 or the 301 logs, it still could be valuable to you as a user. And then short description. So I'm just going to input a description here of what happened. Employee slipped while walking down the stairs near the office, resulting in an ankle injury. And I'm going to save. So the workflow in SMS is the process. How we've built it is we put this general information section, which is the most entered information and the minimally required data. We've put that as kind of the first form that you see. When you save, you are presented this view page where you can add additional information. You can add any additional information that you desire, in whether it's recordable injury or illness details or additional employee information, etc. One thing I also want to call out is I'm going to edit this quickly, and I do want to demonstrate. So based on the type of incident, it does change which fields are required and not required to be entered. So the system knows if you are entering a recordable incident, we need a short description, for example, and we might need other data that is required to be collected as a result of the type of incident you've entered. If I choose a near miss, or if I choose a safety observation as an example, it will unrequire some of the fields, allowing me to just quickly enter the data as I need to. And because I selected recordable in that section, I'm going to select edit here. And now I haven't gone into this yet, but I'm going to hit edit. And now you'll see that there are elements on this page that will be required. So I'm going to say that the type of injury or illness, and again, this is user defined, as well as it comes with some JJ Keller defined items. I'm going to say it was a strain or sprain. As a result of it being recordable, I need to either enter the days or the dates or the days that the user was not present at work. And so I'm just going to enter days. I'm going to say that they missed a week in this example. And again, you can enter dates, a date range, or you could enter number of days directly. OSHA injury or illness classification. Again, this is pulling from a list. So I'm going to select injury. And then injury cause, I'm going to say slip or trip. And body parts impacted, we'll just say And again, these are user defined, so I'm going to say foot. I can add notes to this as well as I choose to maybe keep a log of, a return to work or other elements that maybe are necessary as a result of the record. And as I've entered that, now I'm going to click save. My incident is saved. A couple other sections. I would encourage you to explore these. These are just additional elements that can be exposed on the 300 and 301 log. I'm going to walk into the investigation section though for a minute. This is useful from the ability to add attachments perspective. So you can come in here and you can add an interview, you can add a witness statement, you can choose a file from your machine and upload it here. And then you can also add investigation notes that you choose. So a pretty wide array of flexibility in regards to the amount of data that you enter and collect. You also have the option to enter an incident risk level or root cause information, and there are 3 elements of defined of root cause. So one thing I will note, and we'll see it in a little bit, these root cause fields are available in the grid, so they're very useful. If you want to keep tabs on something that is very specific to the incident that maybe you think is a root cause that you want to keep tabs on across several incidents, we can use that data on the grid to report out on it. And then corrective actions and tasks. So this feature is kind of nice. What it allows for is, and we have a tasks feature in the left nav. I won't go into that as much, but you can link a task, and here we're going to do a corrective action task that I'm going to enter as a result of the incident that just took place. And so I'm going to say it's to do, it's a high priority. I'm going to assign it to, in this case, myself. And I'm going to say the due date, it's got to be fixed by Friday. I can add attachments, I can add a description, I can add a variety of notes, etc., and I'm going to save. So what this allows you to do is maintain visibility of any corrective actions or preventative actions that are going to take place on the incident itself. In addition, in the tasks feature, it allows you to, and let's see if I can find that one quickly. It allows you to see that there's a task out here that's a corrective action, and then it's linked to the incident. And it's hyperlinked, so I can just click and navigate to the incident itself to maybe get some more contextual information around what needs to be fixed or what happened, etc. So that's the down and dirty of entering an incident. I'm going to jump into the employment data feature because for some of the forms, the 300A specifically, requires hours and employment data to be entered in order for it to pull directly onto the forms. So the process here is, it kind of walks you through the steps. So the first thing that you do, and we automatically create the previous year and the current year for you, but maybe you want to add data around, what happened in, and I'm going to use 2014, but maybe you want to add in data, based on what happened in 2019, right? So I'm going to add a year, and I'm going to add 2014 in my example. What this does is, and now I'm going to filter on 2014, it creates a row for each location and allows me to choose to enter the data for a location. So here in Appleton, for example, I'm going to enter some data specific to the Appleton location in regards to the number of employees that worked there this month, how many hours did they work, and my peak employee count. So we're going to do 25, we're going to do 4,000, and I'm going to say my peak employee count was 1 to 19. I might have peaked at 19. Actually, we'll do this one. You'll notice this toggle right down here, which allows me to apply this month's employment info to all months. This is kind of the process in which you would enter the data yearly. So you can, using math, for example, if you worked 12,000 hours in a year, I could just enter 1,000 in this box here and apply it to all months, and it would just normalize it for each month in the year, and then it would my end number would be 12,000. In this case, I'm going to apply it to all months, or I have the option to just go in month by month and enter my data. So I'm going to click save. So now I have entered my employment data for 2014 for the location of Appleton, and you'll see we do some behind the scenes work to determine whether or not electronic submission to OSHA is required. And one thing I want to call out is you'll see here the NINA location, for example, it does say yes, it's required. And the reason for that is that in company data in locations for NINA, I have a NAICS code defined that is one of the NAICS codes that requires submission irrespective of my employment data. I see a bunch of questions floating in. I will certainly get to those. I want to spend a couple minutes just covering the grid for a few moments. So the grid, we've introduced a relatively new grid to the incidents feature, and it's really powerful, and I would encourage you to continue to explore it. But what it offers is there are a variety of different columns now that I can bring into the grid that I might want visibility of. And I'll give you an example of what I might want. I might want to see in my Appleton location, as an example, I might want to see, first of all, I might want to see how many incidents did we have in the month of September, right? So I'm going to pull a data point into the grid, and I'm going to filter on this. And how I've done that is go to the hamburger menu is what it's called here. I'm going to do contains, and I'm going to do Appleton, and I'm just going to hit enter. What it's going to do is pare my list down to 20. It's now 23 results, 23 incidents that happened in Appleton. But I want to see the range date of, I'm going to see September. So 09/01/2021, and then I want to see through today. So you'll now see that I'm telling myself, or I'm analyzing the data to understand that I have 4 incidents for the month of September in my Appleton location. I might want to say, maybe I want to further understand the body parts impacted, and I'm seeing a couple foot injuries. So I want to filter on foot. And I'm going to see now that I have, out of the 4, 3 of them were foot injuries, which is obviously a bit concerning to me. Maybe I want to filter out on the type of incident. So the process in which you filter is very useful, but what's even more useful as well is I have a couple different options then to get data out of the system. So I can do this, report current view, and I can generate a CSV, which I'm going to do. And what that will do is honor everything that I've done in the grid, including filters, and it will give me an output, and I will show it on my screen here. Give me output that's specific to the grid contents that I've filtered, and I've sliced and diced my data a little bit. In addition, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I just want these 2, right? These 2 are pertinent to me. Let me expand this action section, and I'll show you what happens. So as I select from the first column here, you'll see there are a couple different options that appear. So I can generate a CSV just of these 2, or I can copy them with headers, and I can paste them into a blank Excel doc, for example, and I'm just going to do it here. So that's one option. Well, a couple different options, actually. And then I also have the ability to, if I just want, say, for example, I want these case numbers. I want these 3 case numbers. All I'm doing is left-clicking and dragging down, and I can do a Control-C to copy the data. And then I can do a Control-V, and it will grab the data. I can also go like this and just select these, and that didn't copy before. But here, if I do a paste, you'll see that it's only copying the three columns that I've selected in my view. One other thing I want to call out quickly is the option for other actions in mass. So if I select these 2, for example, I can not only copy the data, but I can print a Form 301 for the incidents that I've selected in mass, which allows for a quicker way for me to generate that report instead of previously going into each incident and printing them directly. So I now have one PDF output with several different pages per incident. We're going to pause. I'm going to try to jump into the questions and just try to get answers out to as many of them as I can.
All right, a lot of great information. So let's see what is coming through. If you do have questions, whether regulatory or about the incident center, now is the time to send them in. So Jason, let's start off. David is asking, is there a way to pull a trend analysis?
So a trend analysis, there are a couple different options for it. And we have items that we've identified that we want to explore and deliver on. But a trend analysis on the dashboard itself, so I'm on the Incident Center dashboard. If I scroll down a little bit, there is a chart that's indicative of some incident rates and trends. And I can pare this down by location. So as I choose my location, the data does change slightly. In addition, I would encourage you to understand how you're looking at the trend analysis to potentially grab the data from the grid as you choose to or as you need to, if the data is present.
All right, excellent. We have Elizabeth asking about Social Security numbers. Is there a reason why you no longer have a place to enter them, and since it is required when submitting claims to insurance?
Yeah, the one reason is that it's considered PII, personally identifiable information, and it's pretty sensitive. So we don't have a specific field for it. What we did find in some of our legacy products is that people are using other fields for that, which is inherently a risk because we could protect some of the data if it was entered in the Social Security number field, but otherwise we couldn't really protect it in regards to some of the security controls that were required and need to be upheld to.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you. Derek, you had answered Mike's question earlier, but I thought it would be beneficial for the entire audience. So Mike was asking, are we supposed to count both the days away and the days of restricted duty, or just the most serious?
Yeah, and that's a great one because it's one that we get every single year. And what OSHA tells us to do is to record the most severe outcomes, right? So in this example, we had restricted duty or days away. And in this case, you would have to record the days away.
Yeah, excellent question. Thank you. All right, Jason, back to you. Roxanne was asking about a report that we used to have called the Incident Analysis, and it tracked recordable and non-recordable, and it had graphs and 4 specific categories. Can you speak to that report?
Yeah, that report, it didn't make the initial cut for Safety Management Suite. However, that is something that we are working on, defining what that will look like and how it will function, and that's towards the top of our list as far as items that we plan to address in the site. And our vision for Safety Management Suite is to make it a little more interactive. So, using the grid to our advantage and to your advantage, you can slice and dice the data on a grid, for example, and do your analysis directly from that standpoint.
Jason, can you show us again where the NAICS codes go? Chris is asking.
Yep, you bet. So company data is the element, and then locations. And at the location level, I'll go into Nina because I know I have it defined here. There's a NAICS code field down here for it. So as you enter a location, it's available there.
Excellent. David is asking, to enter an incident report, does the user need to have a licensed seat of Safety Management Suite?
So depending on your subscription type, you may have access to what's called an incident intake form, and that is a simple version of that users can interact with. You can enter some data, and then let me just jump into here quickly and I'll show you. But it's a way for non-SMS users to enter an incident that you can take further action on. So this is the experience that they would see. And again, that's only for certain subscription types, but yes, we do have that option.
Excellent. Derek, this one may be for you. How do you enter an employee that works for a temp agency at your location and needs to go on your OSHA log?
Yeah, so this one, again, another question that we get every year. Thanks for sending that one in. This one is pretty key, right? You want to make sure that only one employer is recording. So essentially, OSHA always says that whoever has day-to-day supervision of that temp employee is responsible for recording on their log. Now, the next question that often comes after that is, well, what does OSHA define as day-to-day supervision? And well, per their definition, they often say that, you know, in addition to specifying the output, the product or result that will be accomplished by that employee's work, you know, the employer also supervises the details and the means and methods and processes by which the work is also to be accomplished. So you can use that kind of definition to get a good understanding of who does and doesn't have responsibility of the employee. And, you know, in whichever case you find, whoever does have that day-to-day supervision is responsible for recording on the log. And remember that only one employer should be recording.
All right, thank you, Derek. Jason, how do you delete a location that is no longer relevant?
Yeah, so if SMS, it does do a check as to whether or not you can delete a location, because locations are tied to a variety of different aspects in the system, including employees, including incidents, as we just saw. So the best way, if you've used the location, for example, and you no longer use it, the best way is to make inactive. The delete process is available only if the location hasn't been used in the system in other spots. So my recommendation is to make inactive for most of them, assuming you've set them up for a reason.
Excellent. I know this presentation was only slated for half an hour, but I think we can just take one more quick one and then we'll wrap it up. So Jason, Robert is asking, can the grid keep its set up after you leave the session?
Yeah, understood. We get that question a lot, and that is one of the things that's on our list as well in the near term for us to address. Is we want the ability to allow users to save configuration on a grid so that it remembers it across sessions. So we do have that logged as an item that we want to address, but right now we made an improvement to it where it actually remembers it across, you know, within a session. So you can navigate from incidents to chemicals back to incidents, and it will save it. But yes, saving it after you log out and log back in, that's an item we certainly want to address.
Excellent. Well, that was a lot of great information from both Derek and Jason. We have a lot of unanswered questions in queue, and I apologize, we are up against the time. Remember, if you do have any questions, feel free to submit them through the Expert Help portal right in the Safety Management Suite. We'd like to get you a response within one business day. Again, big thank you to Derek Plowden and Jason Hartwig and to everybody who joined us today. If you missed part of the session or you'd like to review it, it will be available on demand. You'll receive an email as soon as it's ready. And this will also be posted within the Safety Management Suite. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a safe day.